Hi everybody, I'm Zach and I like movies, and I am back again for another entry in my Letterboxd Criterion Challenge for 2024. And I went with prompt number 3, which is to watch a movie with a rating of 4.3 or higher. And I went with a kind of a big one. This has been on my watch list for a long time, and I finally watched it because this came at high praise from the god Hideo Kojima. And I am a loyal Kojima stan, if nothing else. And this comes to us from Japan in the mid-60s, and from director Hiroshi Teshigahara. This is Woman in the Dunes. This is one of those grand, big acclaimed movies. Regarded as one of the greatest Japanese movies ever made, and definitely seen as Teshigahara's masterpiece. And I have to say, I wasn't exactly sure what to expect with this movie, and I think even reflecting on it, it's a movie I'm both sort of stumped by, but also very enchanted with. Like, I think it might be a little hard to talk about, like, since I don't have ways to give visuals to this, but I should just I'll just start with the basic premise. So a school teacher and an amateur entomologist. He's just this guy. He's on a vacation. He's collecting bugs, and he's looking for insects that could get his name in one of those National Geographic kind of books. And he misses the last bus out of the village that he's set himself in, and they offer, and some of the locals offer him a night's stay at this lady's house. She is the titular woman in the dunes, because she has this house that's stuck at this bottom of a big sand pit, and he has to get there by climbing on this rickety rope bridge, and personally, if I saw that, I would be I don't know. No, but he sends it down there, and he spends the night there, only to find out that he's now trapped there, now he's just kind of stuck in this this massive sand pit with this woman, and it's interesting because he watches the woman, in the middle of the night. She goes out for a couple of hours. She's shoveling sand into these buckets that get winched up to the villagers up top the sand pit. And they take the sand, they go sell it off onto the market and companies. And she gets two things. She gets to not have her house sunken in and taken in by the sand, and they give her basic necessities and food and some clothes and stuff. And this way of living just completely breaks the entomologist's brain. How do you not see that you're being exploited? And it's that's kind of it. We're just kind of sitting with him and watching these two watching them find this find this conjoining rhythm, or him getting more on her wavelength, because he obviously tries to escape the sand pit, but it's obviously too much. And by the way, the way this movie shoots the sand is breathtaking. Genuinely, I don't think sand has looked quite this good. Obviously there's movies Dune and the desert, and Lawrence of Arabia that shoot the big scope of the desert, but this makes sand very gorgeous, just mounds of sand and dunes and sand billowing in the wind, and even just extreme close-up shots of grains of sand look absolutely beautiful. And you can see in this that this massive pit is just too steep. There's no real escaping from it. He tries to get up, and then this entire wall of sand just collapses out from under his feet. And so yeah, he's resistant, and because he doesn't want to be stuck in this situation. This is terrible. Well, but he but eventually he sort of and like they don't shovel sand, and because he's just like outwardly refusing to do any of this, and like not shoveling sand, that like the house creaks, more sand drips in, and like there's clearly so like so much it's clearly like taking a toll on his new environment, and so he has to relent. He relents, and eventually, and he joins in on the shoveling sand, and he sort of asks this woman like, "Hey, are you shoveling sand to survive, or are you surviving to shovel sand?" And this whole move, and it's at that point that I sort of realized, oh, okay, this is kind of this allegorical, fabulistic little story, and it's interesting. And like reading up some of the reviews and reactions, and like the way that this movie sort of like paces out, Josh Lewis of the Sleazoid podcast, which is a really great podcast, you should check them out. He made a really interesting comparison where he pointed out that this movie reminded him of Jean Dillman. Now that movie is this French movie that follows a housewife for like 3 hours. It follows this housewife just following the mundanity of the chores. Like she like cooks food, she like takes care of her son and all that, and it's sort of like just following her in the mundanity, and then it's the breaking of her mundane rhythms and patterns that kind of like sets the movie, like sort of like gives the movie a serious twist. But this movie, like, it has a very similarity of like it's her and him taking control of their mundanity and sort of like finding a weird sort of life balance in the sand, and but that like it takes the entomologist like quite a while to even like sort of warm up to that idea. Like he has this, like he makes an escape, he manages to like fashion like this like a grappling hook out of like a piece of wood and some like rusty scissors she has, and like he manages to get out in like the dead of night, and this movie is like gorgeously shot, because this first escape scene it does not go well. It is like when he gets out of the sand pit in the vast darkness of the outside world is terrifying. He's running around in the dark. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know where to go. No, he gets chased by dogs, and he falls into a pit of quicksand, and he has to like yell for help for the other villagers. And this is the part of the movie that's like almost on its face terrifying, because it's shot, it's pitch black to the point that you can barely make out the shape line of trees, and you can see and you can only like really make out the flashlights in the distance. Like this is like really creepy shot of like him running away, and like out of the like far away in the background you can barely make out the bokeh lights of the villagers' flashlights, and so they're just coming after him when they realize he's escaped, and it's so and he's just sort of like pulled out and he's put back in the pit, and it's so cruel, and like it's just so cruel to him, and like it's cruel in a way that you kind of wonder like what exactly is this movie sort of like, what point is this movie making about it, because he's like clearly like put upon, and he clearly feels that he himself is important. Like if I'm missing in 3 days, the PTA will come looking for me. I'm an important person. But like he does think highly of himself. He does think he's like above like shoveling sand. But ostensibly, what he's upset about is the concept of work. Breaking down what his situation is that he has to wake up every day, get up and do this work, and then he is rewarded with a house. He's rewarded with food, and he's rewarded with a companion, a wife, sex, and yeah, even that's the sort of sensualness. To jump off of that, this movie does have I think calling it erotic, I feel like, I don't know if I would call it so much erotic, but there is sort of definitely a sexual element to it. Like when he first wakes up after his first night in the house, he like sees the woman there, and she's like laying there naked, and she's covered in sand, and it's like her body is almost glistening. And again, this movie like knows how to like make sand look gorgeous and even hypnotizing, especially in like, and it's like in these like brilliant use of close-up shots, and extreme close-up shots as well. Like often it will like just kind of focus on like their mouth and their chin, and like splat and their parts of their body that are just like covered in sand, and their backs, their thighs, and oftentimes he'll look outside at in the sand pit, and the sand will just kind of like overlay. It will look like waves of water. It's kind of has this like fascinating like almost like mysticism to it, and the erotic angle of it is that he and the woman eventually have to like kind of like, they do eventually sort of like form this odd relationship when they're like wiping each other's down from the sand, and there's like clearly erotic tension between the two of them, but he's still very resistant, and at one point he even strikes a deal with the villagers who trapped him, just like, hey, can I go see the ocean, for like an hour a day? And they're like, yeah. And they just kind of like beat down on them, and like, yeah, we agree. Only if you have like sex with a woman in the house out there in front of us, and let us watch. And they're like shining down flashlights on him. They have these like weird, creepy looking masks on, and he chases after her and like fights her, and she fights him off for like quite a while, and it's very uncomfortable. And it's just, but like eventually he just sort of like gets used to the pit, and he gets used to and he just kind of gets used to, he's used to the pit, he's used to the rhythms, finds an odd sort of comfort and in his weird little pocket society that is just the sand and this house, this rickety ass old house, and this woman. But then he even finds like sort of like this little like weird trick. He like tries to like he makes himself a little like a trap for crows, but then he sort of discovers that turns into like this interesting irrigation system. Like he like makes out like little diagram, like makes a little diagram so you can figure out like how exactly this like, he's like getting this like freshwater like pit in the middle of this sand pit, and he sort of like keeps that to himself. Like it's a little secret he can feel proud of himself. A little thing he can like hoard over the other villagers, like, yeah. and it's sort of like that's sort of like his own little thing that he's like he can like kind of keep for himself in this like as he's able to like better come to terms with this uncomfortable exploitive deal he's now stuck in. But at least he's found a little bit of common cause with somebody, and he's found just a little thing that he can feel good about. And honestly, that's just kind of the movie. That's kind of this little metaphor for life that he is. And oftentimes it'll have these interesting it'll have this little motif about documentation and like certificates. Like he has in the beginning he like thinks about like how important he'll feel when he has like some sort of doctorate or what have you. But like now but then he becomes trapped in a world where like no certificates matters until the one that matters most of all at the very end, which I'll get to. And a bit of a spoiler, but like honestly, this is a movie that is best seen and to be experienced. Just me explaining it will not do this movie justice. It's a gorgeous movie. It's a breathtaking movie. Although I would say it is a bit of a maybe not a daunting movie, but it is a bit of a long movie. It's like just shy of 2.5 hours long, and that's a lot of time to be spent with two people and a lot of sand. And so be prepared to have a bit of a slower movie. Be prepared for not a very direct movie because of the movie, but honestly, be prepared for a very interesting movie and oftentimes a frightening movie, because this movie's ending is really interesting and also very haunting. Like at one point, the woman she starts to suffer stomach pains, and she's pregnant, and the village doctor might believe that it's an ectopic pregnancy, and she has to be like winched out, and and like when she's like pulled out, the rope ladder is like left, and he just sort of climbs back up, and he's out, he's free. But then like he sort of wanders around a bit, and just sort of decides, this can wait till tomorrow, and he goes back down in the pit, and he just kind of stays there. He keeps digging, and that was so fascinating because it's not just so much it's not like you're watching like one of those horror movies where they're like, what are you doing? But it's like, wait, why did you do that? And it sort of answered like, oh, he's like so. It's not so much like a Stockholm syndrome kind of thing, but he's like now so used to his own this new little bubble that he's in, it that being outside of it, it feels alienated, it feels weird. So like I understand if you like I kind of understand if you like watch this movie and you start thinking about like, maybe you watch it and you think about COVID, being trapped in one place, not really knowing what to do when you get out of that one place. He's like he gets out and he steps out and he just kind of decides of his own free will to go back, and he goes back to his work of digging, and then we get this like overlay of a missing persons report that the entomologist, whose name is apparently Junpei, has been missing for 7 years, and that's where the movie ends. And yeah, it's sort of like that's scary in that he's like been missed. He's like just now nowhere. He's now in the middle of nowhere, but he's also has like he also sort of found himself again. It's freedom. It's this sort of like freedom through captivity idea, and that final moment like really kind of did a number on me. That was like, so I was amazed at that ending. And yeah, that's kind of the movie. It's this fascinating, this gorgeously shot, wonderfully edited, and this captivating, almost mystical, fabulistic tale about how this one place in the world, this like one place, this big pit, this big sand pit, is both can be seen as anywhere, but it is also nowhere. And I think it's definitely worth the acclaim it gets. I'm not sure if I would call this like a 10 on 10, and but I think it could definitely be changed with at least another or a couple more rewatches. I definitely really got to watch more of Teshigahara's movies, and actually this Criterion actually came with a couple of his short films, and I know that it has like some more of his other features on the channel. You can also watch this on the channel, the Criterion channel, if you don't have this physically. One I really want to see is The Face of Another. That sounded really interesting, and he has this sort of like tone poem documentary about an architect that looks really cool. And yeah, I think this is definitely worth the acclaim, and it's the kind of movie where I really want to see more of what he's got. Like wow, if this is your masterpiece, I would hate to see what just kind of like a pretty good movie would look like. It'd probably be all close to as good as anything else I've seen here. And yeah, wonderful movie, brilliant editing, very well paced, very very hypnotizing. It's very thought-provoking, but it's also scary sometimes. And yeah, very glad I watched this. Definitely recommend this. Thank you, Kojima Sensei, for like encouraging me to watch this. And yeah, I think that'll be it. I'll have more Criterion movies to watch, more Criterion challenge videos for you, and once I get some more horror movies in. I've been a little busy as of late. I haven't been watching as many horror movies as I've liked, but yeah, that'll be it for me right now. I'm Zach. I love movies. I got a lot more movies to watch, and I hope you watch movies too, and definitely make one of those movies Woman in the Dunes, and I will see you all next time.